All right, so Aquaman 2. Aquaman 2 is a movie I've really been looking forward to since the trailer dropped. Beforehand, I was a little trepidatious about it because the DC films have not fully lived up to expectations. And knowing that this is going to be the final one, I didn't really know what to expect. However, what I will say is, despite what a lot of people have said about this film, it's a movie I enjoyed. I really had a good time with Aquaman 2. Now, is it the greatest comic book film? Is it deep? Is it deep? Is a movie that I'll be thinking about for a long time and pondering about the worth and the value of human life based on the aquatic adventures of Arthur Curry? No, it's not. But what it is, it's good candy, right? Not everything that we have in terms of movies have to be steak. This one is candy. It's a candy bar. It's fun. It's silly. It's zany. It's all of those things. Now, in this particular movie, we have Arthur Curry, who also there's no spoilers here. In this particular movie, we have Arthur Curry, who has a son. He's married to Mira. He's running the kingdom poorly, I might add. He's basically not running it. And what happens is Black Manta decides, hey, you remember you killed my pops in the first movie? I'm coming back for revenge. And the revenge factor in this movie is kind of spearheaded, no pun intended, or I guess I should say like pitchfork. What's that thing called? Trident. It's not trident. It's not tridented or spearheaded rather by Black Manta himself. He's actually spurred along by some other entity who is allowing him to gain power in order to take on Aquaman. So in this particular movie, we have Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who's playing Black Manta, who did a great job of playing him in the first movie, and he also does an even better job of doing this in the second movie because although he's not the main, he's pretty much the main for the majority of this movie, and he does a great job at portraying one of the silliest costumes in comic book history that is translated really well in this film. And speaking more on this film, the thing I really liked about it was the buddy cop brother relationship between Orm and Aquaman after they team back up together to stop Black Manta. Throughout the majority of this film, they have a really good banter together, and the thing that the movie does really well is that they don't linger too long on the Orm was a bad guy thing. They actually get over that pretty quickly, which allows for these two characters to actually talk and have good moments together. And even as they're going throughout their adventures of trying to escape different places, I was about to spoil it, but I'm not. Escape different places and fight alongside each other. It actually becomes a really fun adventure. Now, the movie also has Mira in it, who's barely in it. Like when I say barely, I mean barely. Like she like I said, Arthur and Mira have a child together in this movie, and she's pretty much on parental leave for the majority of this film. Now I know there's a lot of controversy about Mira's actor, whose name I am forgetting. I promise you, I'm not doing this on purpose. I forget her name, but uh, honestly, that doesn't factor into anything about this movie for me. This movie stands on its own. I don't think about that when I'm watching this movie. The only thing I'm thinking about is the film that's in front of me. I wish more people would do that, but hey, you are who you are. You do what you do, right? But yeah, she's basically on parental leave during this entire movie. She does have a couple cool scenes and stuff like that, but for the most part, she ain't there. But also, the movie is pretty here's the bad part. The movie's pretty bad at dialogue at times. It gets to the level of corny of it. At certain points, it plays into the Jason Momoa was supposed to be cool, so this is what a cool Jason Momoa would do kind of thing. Instead of just focusing on the character of Arthur Curry, there's some guitar riffs in here that I'm kind of like, okay, it's fun, but it's not necessarily the most necessary thing that's going on here. It's the same issue I had with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where Sam Raimi allowed his Sam Raiminess to kind of take over the movie at times in terms of like the guitar riffs and stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there. We're not reviewing that movie. But Also, but also like I think that I think it's worth your time. I think that it's a pretty cool adventure that is not the greatest movie in the world. It's a candy bar essentially. You eat it and you throw it away. As a movie that's supposed to end the DCEU, I also don't view it as that. The only reason why I don't is because I don't think that they set out to end the DCEU with this movie. It just so happens to be the last movie that they were doing before they decided to cancel the DCEU, right? So that's pretty much the lens that I look at it through. Now, in terms of the fight scenes are dope. Like legitimately, all the fight scenes are dope. Especially when Aquaman and Black Manta are fighting, they do a really good job of that choreography. Especially like the swimming scenes and stuff like that. You really believe that these dudes are fighting like underwater and they have this kind of like underwater battle and that like there's missiles there's giant beasts, there's like all kinds of creatures that they have to control. They deal with Aquaman talking to fish as well as other people talking to fish as well, and I just think that they did a really good job of amalgamating all the things that make Aquaman, especially like him riding a seahorse and stuff like that. All of that becomes part of this world and it's believable because it's an Aquaman movie, right? So yeah, so overall, for the most part, it's a fun movie. It's not a great movie. Some would even struggle to call it a good movie. I think it's a solid movie. I'm not like ever going to go back and watch it again. It's not that kind of movie either. But if it was on in the barbershop, I would peek at it and be like, oh yeah, Aquaman too. I remember that. That was cool. Yeah, it was a cool movie and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not nearly as consequential as maybe Across the Spider Verse would be. The main villain, the one that's kind of spearheading or Trident heading this thing, is weak sauce. That's another criticism I guess you can give towards it. It didn't even like present itself well. The way that the movie ends in terms of that central conflict is kind of bad in a lot of ways, but the movie overall, fun. But yeah, so that's my review of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Can't really go too much in depth into it without spoiling it, but also there's not much depth in this movie. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it in the theater. It's a candy bar. It's not steak. Don't ask for a candy bar to be a steak. So that's it. So let's go to some of your guys' comments. And I actually enjoyed the hell out of Aquaman 2. I enjoyed it too, man. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time with it. James Popcorn says Waterboy and the Misplaced Monarchy. The monarchy part of it was strange. Amber Heard, yes, Amber Heard is her name. I completely agree with you about all your points of Yahya Abdul-Mateen the second. I just like saying that full name because I got it down, just like Giannis Antetokounmpo. But yeah, and Patrick Wilson was great. Yeah, they were both great in this movie. Is it a popcorn movie? Yeah, yeah. Pop that popcorn with this movie. This is exactly what it is. It's definitely a popcorn movie. I said in my review that the most comic booky type movie I've seen. It is very comic booky, legitimately comic booky. Like some of the lines that Yahya Abdul Mateen II has in this movie is like ripped straight out of a comic book. I'm going to kill Aquaman's family and I'm going to make him suffer for the things that he's done to me in a watery grave. Like very comic book. It's super comic booky. So it's basically a fun action movie. Depends on what your mindset is going into the movie. Totally agree. That's 100% correct. That is exactly what it is. I think it's unfair to think every comic book movie is supposed to be Winter Soldier or Endgame. I can't tell you how much I agree with you. This is the problem with comic book movie discourse in our culture. I do not expect an Ant-Man movie to be as deep and poetic as, I don't know, The Dark Knight Rises. I just like, why would I expect that? Now, if that happens, awesome, great, it's fun, cool. Maybe Edgar Wright would have made one of those like really cool and deep like Ant-Man movies or something like that. Maybe he would have done that. But why do I expect the Marvels to be Endgame? Why do I expect the Marvels to be Endgame? I'm like, this is not as good as Endgame. People who say it's not as good as Endgame don't understand like just how these movies are made. They're not made to be Endgame. If they're trying to do Endgame with every movie, Endgame wouldn't be Endgame. Now, would it?